much work. Too much work. I'll play with the land instead of the real cards. Whoa. Welcome to MTZWBY with you, America's most evil goatees podcast. I'm, of course, joined by the man who joined the water torture like me and Louie did a couple weeks ago, Josh.
There's in no way a reference to terrorism. What are you talking about?
I feel like my house is terrorized.
Last time we left you, your basement was flooding. Are you okay?
No, my kitchen was
Your
flooding.
kitchen was flooding.
And you'll be proud to know I got rid of the water.
Good. I'm glad.
What did you do? What was it?
I didn't know it was that easy. Wait, you had the option to
No,
fix
Guys,
it.
it wasn't that big of a deal.
All we had to do was turn the water off. Damn it.
Damn, I wish I would have thought about that.
And I, of course, joined by the man, the Sleeve Master Flex, Louie DeGeorge.
What is up, everyone? And we are joined by George. This is take 2 of the beginning of the podcast. Take 1 was not super great, but we're going for it again. We'll
You
send
told
out
me
the
I couldn't
Patreon.
mention that in my intro.
Well, I forgot that we're going to send the rest of the one to the patrons this week. We're going to send them the behind the scenes of take 1 of the podcast.
That's
and-
a mistake.
And
Even
That's
the nudity?
a mistake. That's a mistake.
Even the nudity?
That's a mistake.
So today we are hanging out with you. So glad that you are joining us on the podcast today. America's #1 Friday morning at 9 a.m. TCG podcast. We're so glad that you're joining us. Today we're going to be chatting about the Fireside chat, this time with an actual fireplace. Unlike Wizards of the Coast, we can host a Fireside chat and have a fireplace for you. You are welcome. We're going to talk about the Hasbro conversation. We're going to talk about recent Magic the Gathering product. We're going to talk about Dominaria Remastered and give you our takes and our fears on that. We get into our fears on that one pretty good. George had a Cryptic event this week that we're going to talk a little bit more about Cryptic, if you remember that. When we get to our alternative TCGs, we're also going to talk about Sorcery a little bit, and we'll wrap it up with a Kickstarter roundup and a $50 million MetaZoo Discord notification. That's what it cost Mike to send out that Discord notification. So
That's not what words mean, but God bless.
Max, Scoopies.
Let's hop in and talk about the Fireside chat. If you guys weren't aware, I guess it would be yesterday, right? Because it was today that the live stream was. Hasbro had a Fireside chat, which was just a blank screen while they talked on a presumably Zoom call. And so I'm not sure about why they called it a Fireside chat.
There was a fire there.
There was certainly a lot of interest in this in the community. I know Jake and Joel and Magic were doing a live stream. They had like 2,200 people watching. I had like 500 to 600 people watching. There's a couple other people streaming.
This is the news you come here for. How many people watch in each person's
The
YouTube
point
channel?
is that people were really interested in
Yes,
this. People,
that's true.
when they announced this, we haven't seen a company come out with like between quarters conversation like this. It's kind of a big deal to sit down with one of your big brands, your first, billion-dollar brand, first billion-dollar brand, and sit down and have a Fireside chat. And so people were really interested in that. So we're going to go through our takes on it, even though one of us is a Hasbro shill. So I'll let you in the comment.
Please be kind, Louie. I'm around you. Thank you. Continue.
You're not around me. You couldn't be further away from me. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy
A
with
couple big takeaways. First of all, for a Fireside chat, ridiculously low number of s'mores present.
that.
I said that. The first take. This is just you guys are stealing my takes.
You did not say that.
No,
You
he
did
did.
not say that.
He's been making
No.
fun of me. He told me that if I didn't have s'mores on my live stream, that I was dead to him. Which
Ah,
unfortunately,
that's all
unfortunately,
it
he
took,
still
huh?
called me after the thing. You know?
All right, hometown TCG
I didn't watch it. I
live
figured
stream
you had
tomorrow.
s'mores.
No s'mores. No s'mores.
I do think that was a big missed opportunity for WotC. They could have had s'mores there and been eating some s'mores on the.
And the
on
dragon
stream.
could have supplied the fire because they're all in on Dungeons and Dragons. D&D podcast starts now.
We got to find a way to monetize that. It's super important.
All right.
Let's talk about the positives first. I don't want to get all
Sure.
super negative like you two. Let's talk about the positives first.
God.
They gave us a player breakdown for in-person play, which I thought was kind of interesting. I think they said they have reached 50 million players. Is that the number, Josh? Yeah, 50 million players to date. And they said that they are back to 75% of the pre-COVID in-play numbers, which what are your guys' takes on that in person?
That can't. I don't know. Maybe they have better tracking now. That seems wild, doesn't it?
Wait,
75% already?
Oh, I was going the exact opposite direction.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
I thought that was like wildly lower than I expected.
Oh, I thought that was wildly high.
I do think this might be a north-south issue. Like we're back.
It's winter, and like I don't want to go.
Yeah,
down to the
like
game
we're back.
store,
Like we haven't. We've been open for a while.
So is that number good though? Like you have, let me ask you guys this, because I don't know if I have an answer here, but you have 2020, 2021, this huge TCG boom that supposedly gets a bunch of people into the hobby. And then you go back and in-store play is 75% of the previous. Like, is that really a win? Because they labeled this as good tailwinds. They're doing a bold return to in-person play.
Well, I mean, like that's corporate speak for like, here's the numbers. I mean, like, I thought that number would be way higher. I mean, also because like I suspect that 25% is gone forever.
Yeah,
like they could be replaced with new people. That won't surprise me at all. But like I find it hard to believe you haven't played in-store Magic in 2.5 years and you're coming back. That would surprise me.
That's fair.
I think there's something deeper there. I think the pandemic and all the powers that be of the 2020 craziness would have pushed people into my headphones just died, but they would push people into these like play spaces where they're playing online, they're playing MTGO, they're playing MTG Arena. Do you think that maybe some people got a taste of that and just aren't coming back?
100%. Like you said, it's a great take.
But
I don't think people are going back to. I don't think people who played in person. Maybe there's a couple people in the comment section who will say that is me, whatever. But I think it's a bold statement to say that people who played in person Magic, pandemic happens, they get addicted to Arena, and then they don't come back to their friends and local game store and environment. Like I think maybe they were praising the 40% of players are hybrid players, or they spend 40% more. Anyway, they were talking about those hybrid players. That maybe created more hybrid players. But if you enjoyed the LGS pre-pandemic, my guess says you are back to your LGS.
Did, but you're 2 years older now, and you found out that you can interact with this hobby and do other things. Like maybe life has just changed, right?
You have a kid.
Yeah,
so
you have a kid. She might be in this podcast. I don't know.
At the middle of the podcast, you're going to have a kid. The continuity of this podcast.
I will also have headphones again randomly.
In a follow-up interview, they said that they're now viewing Magic Arena as a gateway into paper Magic.
Well, they said that in the thing too. Do you see that in your store?
No, but like my store is weird. Like I would not expect to see that in my store.
Yeah, like I don't see that in my store at all. Like one of the things they said, I don't think they actually gave a number, but they said
they did a follow-up interview.
They hyped that people are they just said WPN stores are seeing new players from Arena, and I don't particularly think that is a true statement. Like
that's a weird position. I've always looked at online clients as an exodus, not an entry point.
I mean, like maybe I don't know. Like I do think it's like God, like we're all old fogies. Like some of us more than others. Like I could see a 20-year-old getting into Magic online and then being like, let me go try it out at the store. Like that wouldn't stun me.
Yeah.
I've just always looked at it in the other way, I guess.
Like, and also like the other big takeaway for me is like I wonder if they're going to not allow distro to sell to non-WPN stores soon. Like there was a lot of WPN talk, and there was not a lot of like. I actually wonder if they're going to be cutting off some non-WPN stores.
Yeah, not a lot of WPN premium talk though.
Oh my gosh, you're the only one who knows who cares about WPN premium.
I know you're sponsored, Josh. Relax. You already got your paycheck. Okay, so just call them later.
George, what do you think the population of a non-WPN store is who's getting Magic product or selling?
I mean, like it's whatnot people.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
like
interesting.
Well, I think I mean, like that was one of the. That was
that means they cut off our boy Rudy.
They'll never cut off Rudy.
He makes a point of saying
Rudy has been ruthless. I want you to know I don't watch many TCG videos. I have loved Rudy. I even disagree with a lot of Rudy's takes these last couple of weeks, but I love the fire in his eyes, and they haven't cut him off, which is amazing.
But
I love that about them.
If they cut off everyone who's not WPN, he makes a big deal about not being WPN.
They will carve out a Rudy exception. If you eat 10
fair.
pounds of Taco Bell every day, you're still in. You have to prove it.
I'm not sure he cares. He sent a patron message tonight talking about should he take Dominaria Remastered. Will people
really?
I saw that it was a vote. Yeah,
it was a vote.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't think it really matters.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay,
God, where's the Rudy Exit Strategy podcast? That's the one. That's the
episode. Really?
Yeah. That's the episode.
Wow.
Okay, let's get into the nitty gritty of this because there were some positive with the player numbers and that kind of stuff. But let's get into the nitty gritty. There were two things that we let's
get this positive out of the way. Let's get this positive out of the way. I gotta fun it up.
There were two things that the community was anticipating. Nobody thought that they would actually come out and say anything positive. But there were two main topics in the community. One of which was print run numbers and the supply chain the oversupply of product. I don't want to get into print run number, like the seemingly oversupply of product, of which makes it hard for stores to move product, whatever. And the second was the Magic 30th debacle. Some people were calling for an apology from Wizards on this. Not to say that anybody on this podcast expected that to happen, but I went into this thinking that nothing was going to happen, and I left this being like, holy crap, they couldn't be more disconnected from what people in the Magic community wanted or anticipated. They were completely disconnected from Magic Gathering. My favorite comment in my videos was, oh my gosh, neither of these people, none of the three people have ever played a game of Magic before in their life. They are completely disconnected.
There's no way that they knew what a Planeswalker was.
Yeah, like Chris Cox is not playing Magic at his Cockstail parties. Like, it's just
calling them the Cockstail parties, by the way, the best. That was the best comment I saw from this. I am 100%.
Wait, that wasn't even your comment? You stole that comment?
I just came up with that right there. I don't even know what Josh is talking about. Chris Cox's Cockstail party.
He doesn't read his chat. He doesn't read his
You stole that? You've been saying that to me all day. You have told me that 800 times today, and you stole that from somebody?
Yeah.
George is scorned. I know. We have some sensitive listeners on this podcast. I want you all to know that George will not be speculating on Magic print run numbers today. So if that's what you're here for, go ahead and click off the video. But George, what was your take on the whole, we think we're not printing enough, it's a misunderstanding of the community of what we're trying to do? Because this is something we've gone back and forth about privately.
So I think they seemed very weirdly focused on the fact that Unfinity and Warhammer released at the same time. They seemed to think this was like a pretty big failure.
Yeah.
And it's weird because like I thought it wasn't good, but frankly, it didn't stick out in my mind. I completely forgot about it until this phone call.
Well, we got through it pretty successfully because of you and I's opening of Unfinity.
I mean, like your opening of Brothers of War, which was less successful.
No, but like
Brothers of War again. It's just Brothers War.
I remember.
Go pound sand.
I remember before that phone call where you and I were like, "Hey, we should open this product.
We could crack every box under God's green earth."
We were pretty worried about the combined. People were choosing to buy Warhammer over boxes of Unfinity, and that was a big deal. I agree
completely, but like when I look at like Wizards over the last year and I look at like some of the misses, that doesn't register to me. Like they literally did D&D Commander Legends this year.
Yeah.
Like
massacred my boy.
Yeah, like that has to be at the top of the failure list. Like a product that like I cannot move at half of my cost. I'll be honest. I'm not convinced I can move it at a quarter of my cost.
Yeah.
Like that has to be pretty high up there in the whoopsie daisy department. So this goes to like, I think a fundamental disagreement that like me and Bozo have. I don't think the issue is overprinting. I think the issue is like bad sets. So like they could have printed more Kamigawa. and I think that would have been okay. But like, there is no number small enough to make Commander Legends D&D a success.
Yeah.
Like, that's impossible. Like, the set doesn't work.
I agree with that statement. I somewhat
Wow, this is already better than the first take. Continue.
Yeah, because you're letting people. You're about to let somebody talk.
I just think that this is a very important thing. Go ahead, Louis.
So
I think that this. Go ahead.
I agree with what you're saying. I think there's two caveats to it. I think Dungeons and Dragons would have been a fine set if the cost of the boxes for stores wasn't $100 more than the cost for, like, their boxes are selling for $140 for collector boxes. That's the same price that they're selling for new Capenna boxes. Like, the at a lower price point, I think more people buy them to get cards like the Ancient Dragons that are actually pretty good and that kind of thing. The price point of that was towards the Commander Legends side, not towards the crappy D&D set side. And then additionally, I would say it's not necessarily the print run of specific products, but it's the volume of different products that are currently available to the consumer. And so where your focus is in on, like, if you use New Capenna, like, it's not the number of boxes that New Capenna prints, it's the entire 6 tent poles plus sets in between each tent pole, and every week there's a new spoiler season, and there's not really even enough time to really enjoy the set. And it's the holistic approach of too much product with 48 secret layers this year and this, that, and the other thing. So it's not print runs of a specific product, it's the overall Magic print run. You combine that with differences of 3 years ago, the combining of set boxes and collector boxes and draft boxes. It's just too much for a consumer.
They said that they viewed products that go up in price too quickly as a failure because they view it as frustrating to the consumer and leaving money on the table. And I do think this is like a fine line. Like, if products go to the moon, looking at you, Jumpstart, like, that does feel bad. Like, right now it's okay, but do you think it'll, I mean, like, listen, if there's not a new wave before Christmas, that's going to be a pricey box by Christmas time.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be a very price. That's going to be a stupid price by Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, they look at that and go, like, customers are PO'd that they can't get the cards they want. They can't play the game they want, and I left money on the table. And I just look, like, there's no volume at all on Commander Legends. Like, again, like, it goes to my point. Like, the price isn't the problem. They sold 5 collector boxes today. 5.
I mean, that's not no volume at all in my mind on a set that's been out for 8 months ago. Like,
I don't know. That seems really low to me.
So, but I think you tapped into something when we talked about the player numbers that you've alluded to, and this has kind of been my stance, both on my channel and on here. It's like, when you play Magic in person, you collect Magic in person at your LGS or wherever it may be, there's a social, emotional aspect to this. You feel, gravitated to the social experience, and then you feel this nostalgia and this emotional reaction to these sets. Like, we've talked about it before. We talked about our journey into TCGs or our journey into Magic, the sets we remember, and like the archetypes and the decks we were playing and when EDH hit and stuff like that. You don't get that anymore. And it's, you mentioned it right there, and I agree. It's not only the multitude of products and the rapid pace we're getting them at, but the different lanes within each of those products. You got draft, you got set, you got collector. It really doesn't allow you to kind of have that community experience around the one box anymore. And I think that's big. And to see them not acknowledge that, and in fact lean the other direction, made me feel like they're not tuned in to what players, I think players want.
They said, and we argued this earlier, we can argue it again. They said that the secondary market price, they said that its prices are entirely unrelated to the number of cards printed. And like, that is the level of disconnect that I feel is completely unknown. Like, it feels like they just don't understand TCGs, the economy side of TCGs.
Yeah.
To say that the print runs are that the prices are entirely unrelated to the number of cards printed is a wild statement. I mean, it goes against supply and demand.
I suspect that, like, these very high to do executives probably understand the basics of supply and demand. I suspect, and I said this last time, like, I suspect this was their feeler for, like, I've always held this, right? If they print 10 million Lotuses tomorrow and they put them in new Phyrexia,
Mm-hmm.
the price of an Alpha Lotus doesn't budge.
Completely agree with that.
Disagree.
Why, Josh?
You
Why? Like, let's get into that because I completely just.
It budges. It 100% budges. It
Like,
moves.
What?
If
It
an-
doesn't
if
crash,
a-
it doesn't go to zero. It doesn't become worthless. It's
if a-
still an extremely valuable card. but
What percent down do you think it goes? What percent down do you think an Alpha Lotus goes if they reprint a Lotus?
Immediately 5 to 10%.
No, like Josh, this is the George's example is a terrible example here because there's no way you can win that argument. The Alpha Lotus doesn't go down at all, and none of the current Lotuses go down at all. If you reprint the Lotus so that it's a $5 card, it's in a $4 booster pack, it's a regular mythic hit, the Alpha Lotus, all the rare Lotuses don't change at all. It's cards like the dual lands. It's cards like
I think the dual lands are the best counterexample to me.
it's cards like Gaia's Cradle that supply
Sure.
actually
It affects them more. I think and this is where we're speaking in this weird, yes, what you're saying, I agree with you. The dual lands, Gaia's Cradle, the playable cards in these vintage legacy formats will go down more. You require more copies of them. There's more people playing them. They're more actively used in decks. But everything gets affected, in my opinion. We don't have to spend a bunch of time on this. That's just where I stand on it.
But I'm talking more of a supply to market when from a store perspective, and they talk about 70% of their sales were sales through LGSs, through their business to business sales.
Holler.
From a if they actually care about that, to print a product in supply that allows them to sell booster boxes on Black Friday of New Capenna for $110 or currently on Amazon for $150 or whatever. I feel like as a store, that is a bad place to be, and that they are overproducing that set where people who aren't stores, that aren't hosting events, that aren't paying rent, that aren't paying employees to set up the stuff, are able to buy it on Amazon for 30 to 40% less than the business to business partners are on the other side of things. That, to me, that is a pretty clear sign that you have overprinted your market, and that does affect the secondary market printing. And it's silly to say that doesn't affect the secondary market price.
Yeah, so George, a good example of this would be like your fetch lands that came out in Modern Horizons 2, right? Like, I think that's a fine example of this. There could have been an amount of Modern Horizons 2 that was printed and stopped where fetch lands could have come down to $20 and been $20 a piece.
The Modern
In fact,
go to the moon.
Well, but in fact, it's been printed to where they're down to like $13.
We got into it last podcast, and that is the meanest thing you said. All night.
They printed so much.
That's the meanest thing you've said.
Modern Horizons 2 will actually be fine.
Okay,
I don't think fetch.
We're back. We're back.
Fetch lands, they can't print. They can't reprint fetch lands.
I just want Modern Horizons 2 to go up.
You won't see fetch land prices go up for 3 years unless
I'm saying that's a good example of the disconnect. They could have had a stop where the secondary market would have been fulfilled, the boxes still would have felt a little better to open, and there still would have been plenty. Like the reprint would have been successful. By going overboard, you got $12, $13 fetch lands.
To me, I think that's okay.
I was gonna say the same thing. The price of the fetch lands doesn't matter to me because those are game pieces to be played. My issue with their statement that their printing supply doesn't affect the secondary market prices is that they are selling boxes direct to consumer in volume below the cost that stores were buying them on release, and that's an issue, and that says that you printed too many boxes. And that is not because I don't care about playable card pieces having value. Like, honestly, Josh, I think fetch lands are very important playable card pieces, and the base model of those cards should be cheap. And I am for the base model. I want them to put collectible pieces like some sort of full art fetch lands or some sort of special fetch lands that they keep not reprinting, and that they have a very good chase rarity and collectability to it. But from a product standpoint, that is sealed product standpoint, I think that's the issue that I have with it.
I think that I think that they're trying to figure out how do you print enough to make it so that the market doesn't pop. Like, I think my gut is that some of the earlier collector boosters came out and went to the moon right away. That scared them. And I think they've overcorrected. And now they have to figure out a middle ground.
Then they did. they don't understand what collector boosters by definition as a word should mean.
I mean, like there's a I think
Like I know they can make it anything they want, but
I think they want them to be at reasonable prices for a couple of months.
I don't think they understand what is collectible. They said, we did this earlier. George didn't know the answer. I said, what is collectible? What did they claim was collectible in Magic the Gathering? And
this
George
was a
said,
big takeaway. This was weird.
George said collector boxes. I said, nope, that's not what they said. And what was the second take? I don't even remember. But the answer was, they said Secret Lair is the collectible product in Magic the Gathering. And this comes back to do collector boxes work? And I think that they reduce the collectability of the singles cards in Magic the Gathering.
We've been through phases, right? Collector boxes did work at one point.
Yeah.
They still work. I mean, like
but what hold on, expand upon that. Why do they work in your mind?
I mean, like, listen, it's like I sell more collector boxes than anything else in my store by a mile.
Is that the collector box working or the draft box not working?
I bet you I sell 10 to 1.
Okay.
But that in turn makes something not collectible. It's not that hold on, let me it's not that those cards are more collectible in that set than the other ones. It's that the pull rates it's easier to open up a box and get not as much chaff and not as much. It's a better pull rate of the playable cards. It's not a question of, are these things more collectible? Do they have more value? Do they have more collectability attached to them? They are simply better pull rates because you get 4 mythics in a pack, because you get
there's also better versions that aren't
not
available. Like, where's your stupid cards, Josh? Show them your cards. Maybe you forgot about those.
Oh, what do you? I could never.
This is the one example. This is the one example in the world that matters.
This works.
Look at the full Monty.
I agree. Yep,
look at the price of the full Monty Jeweled Lotus versus a regular Jeweled Lotus.
And that was another one that the collector box wasn't printed to the moon. Those were out very quickly.
Yep. Okay. Use every other collector box other than Throne of Eldraine.
What was in you can get the Legends cards from Dominaria. Those are things that were only available in Dominaria collectors. I mean,
but they're not doing well. Those collector boxes aren't doing well.
Again, you guys are missing the serialized cards is a good point. The Jeweled Lotus in that case was a good point, and that was closer to the earlier stages of the collector boxes. But the whole of collector boxes, let's go 80% of the collector boxes that have been released, there's nothing really true. If you take a look at a single from the set and you take the rarest version, there's really no significant difference between that card and a regular draft booster version of the card.
I don't think I agree. I mean, look at the stars on the Infinity. You had the gods in Theros. You had
I don't think the gods in Theros are holding a premium as singles.
I have no idea. I wouldn't shock me if they were. They were special though.
But they are because of the pull rates and because of the supply and because of what collector boxes have become. The most, like you're saying, George, the most opened product at your store.
And it was the first box. Yeah, right.
The values of those cards do not hold up. They're not there's no foil multiplier. There's nothing special about them because it's just the normal cards now. They're easier to get a hold of.
But instead of going around in circles about this, I think it's a bigger point, guys, that we agree that something's wrong, but they don't seem to think so based on that statement. We started this conversation with the statement where they think they're printing the right amount and the right type of products, and it's a misunderstanding. Even no matter which side, all three of us here are talking about different problems, but all of those indicate some problems, whether it's the quality of set, whether it's they're printing too many collector boxes and nothing's collectible, whether it's my take on standard sets aren't really for anyone. There's problems, and to hear them say everything is fine, essentially there are no problems, that's weird, because we're sitting here debating what is the problem, not that there is no problems.
That's what I expected, I guess, to be honest. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I would have just liked them to say, "Hey, we recognize that there's some discomfort in the community with this. It's something we're looking into."
So listen. I know I'm on an island on this one. The biggest discomfort right now in the community is obviously the 30th.
Right. Well,
I think like this is all like I think you can reasonably debate that there's not a major problem with boxes right now. I think it's a much harder debate. I think it's a much harder take to say that like the community wasn't upset about the 30th. I wasn't, obviously, but like clearly the community was upset about the 30th. And I think they, they probably could have used harsher language to discuss that and more blunt language to discuss that than they did.
Okay, so let's talk about what they said. They said that
I like how I give you the bone, saying they could have used harsher language, and you roll your eyes like you roll your eyes. You're like nothing's ever good enough for you.
They gave each other mouth hugs about Magic 30th.
Where's Carol?
They gave each other mouth hugs about Magic 30th. This is what they said. We listened to our feedback. They were talking about secondary market values. They said. They said things like product was printed to demand. They talked about Warhammer 40K and the third print
run,
print to demand.
By the way, when the hell was the second print run?
I got it.
I got like 40 extra decks. That was the second print run.
Yeah, that's it.
It counts.
What?
Still counts.
They say all this, and then they say we listen to the feedback, like Magic 30th anniversary product, where we scaled back the supply to create a collector experience that was the right call for the long-term health of the brand. So their take is that they listened to the community, and what the community was saying was, hey, those $1,000 Magic products, we think you should just sell less of them. That's what we're saying. Show me where that is caring and listening about what the community is saying. Nobody in their right mind came out with that take. The only person that ever said that was probably one of Dr. Cox's at his Cockstail party sitting.
You can't use it anymore. We now know you've stolen that. That's now using stolen goods. Okay,
yeah,
that was impressive.
Stealing other things from your chat. I want to point out I was the first person to bring this up in your chat because you put on a good stream, dude. Good job today.
Thanks, man.
You just stole every take.
No, this is not true. I did not steal his take here, or he did not steal my take here.
But like nobody was saying that. That's not the problem with the product. The problem with the product, from everybody's perspective, was that it was advertised as a celebration from Magic the 30th that everybody could be a part of, and it was outpriced 100% of the community. 100%. So much so that they took boxes back, and it's still basically worthless on the secondary market.
This was my take when they said
that's just a lie. That's just a lie.
No. I know you took
Look at that grin. Look at that grin.
I knew it was too up.
I thought you were going
knows
somewhere
he's lying.
else. They took it to we pulled the sale, or we listened to community feedback and we cut the sale short or something. I forgot what the last or the exact quote was, or we cut the amount released because we listened to the community. And my take was, so they cut the amount released, so we know the sale was cut short, and the rest of this is still going to get out to the community. It exists. It's already printed. It's ready to go, and we're going to get it some way or another, and people are still going to be upset because it's $1,000 boxes of not real Magic cards. That's the core of the problem. Not real.
There's starting to be a rumor that like stores might get more than one.
Rudy did a video tonight that 75% of this product, this is a great take. 75% of the supply of this product that's in the market is going to be given for free. Where's the bottom of that price? The amount of product that's going to stores. We know that that what was it 2000
Do we know that
sales?
Nobody's ever told me how we know that number floated around. Everybody ran with it.
An internet sleuth, is that the word? Yeah.
Okay. It's a hacker. It's anonymous.
I mean, look at the supply in the secondary market. There's none of it. Like there's none of it. Like if people were getting it, there would be supply on the secondary market. But unless this is the first TCG product ever that nobody bought to sell on the secondary market. Listen, I know
certain people told me whatever you do, don't buy it to flip it because it's going to it's going to become worthless. I'm not going to name names.
The bottom of this product is astronomically low. If 75% of it is given to stores for free, like astronomically low. But the point is, I don't care about that. I don't want to get into talking about Magic 30th. The point is that they claim that they are listening to the community, and nobody in the community said that. No, that's not anybody's take. Nobody.
It's more disconnect, right?
Yeah.
It feels like more distance between the consumer and the CEO of Hasbro, which I guess, in fairness, there's a good amount of distance between the consumer and the CEO of Hasbro, but maybe they should have prepped for the call a little more. Like that didn't feel It doesn't feel like they're in touch. Or like had someone do the call who's in touch.
You say the cocktail party again. I could see where you were going with this.
Who's out late at its cocktail parties?
I could see where this was going. God, I want you to know you should never have told me that, Josh.
We should have had cocktails.
Like, I can't believe you stole that.
I think that what the community wanted to hear.
So proud of it today.
What the Magic community want to hear, and for I know this wasn't made for the Magic community, but my guess says there were more eyes on this podcast from the Magic the Gathering community than from the people who care about Hasbro stocks community or read a Bank of America.
I think
article.
This was stupid to do. This was stupid.
If you weren't gonna say any major changes, this was dumb to do.
Like
if
I don't
time to announce a big shift in direction in principle. I mean, maybe, but announcing no major changes and just leaking that you're disconnected, not a great idea.
I disagree with the disconnect thing. But that's all right. I mean, like to me, it shows like the BOA thing really did spook them.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
Like
they were asked about it.
They called it out like almost directly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they're doing this, I suspect. I mean, I can't imagine they woke up and wanted to talk to you bozos. I mean, like
the problem is that they did more damage to their actual end user and consumer.
I mean, the market doesn't reflect that. I mean, like the stock market doesn't reflect that. I mean, like, it didn't. The price. I know you had your little stock ticker right up in the front of your little sheet there,
and when that thing didn't move, man.
It didn't move. I mean, like,
oof.
Oof.
The chat asked for it.
Yeah. Chat.
Man
was
of the people.
Chat was the problem.
I mean, like that's
yeah. Don't
Man of the people
for your actions. Like I think it's because this is kind of what the market expected them to say.
Well, according to them, like the Hasbro ticker doesn't even know what Magic the Gathering is because they basically just read a Wikipedia article for 30 minutes of this anyway. So
they're too busy drinking cocktails. I know you wanted to say it. I saw it.
And 3/10 of the people at the cocktail parties don't know what Magic the Gathering is, and they're all for D&D.
They know what D&D is, and D&D to the moon.
I would bet you like way more people know what D&D is in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I agree with that. The continuity issue in
it's
Chris Cox's conversation was everybody knows what Magic the Gathering is. It's a huge IP. It's great. It's amazing. And then like 30 minutes later, I'm at my cocktail parties and 3/10 of my friends don't even know what Magic the Gathering is. But everybody knows what D&D is. So let's milk that for all the money we can get out of it.
I like that this is your milk that motion.
So it's cocktail parties, milking everything.
This quickly became an adult podcast. Adult only podcast.
I don't care anymore. So done with this crap.
18 plus on YouTube.
God, Wizards has broken all the content creators. It's like amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think
it's absolutely fair, and I don't get it, but that's all right.
I got they broke me with Brothers War singles.
Definitely broke you.
You only earned $25,000.
There's two Louis, pre-Brothers of War and post-Brothers of War. That's it. Like I was like, they're like, really? I'm like,
the problem is Unfinity. You opened all that Unfinity and it went so well. You thought, hey, I'm all in. Let's keep doing this.
That's true. That's true.
The other disconnect that I saw in this before we move on is talking about the price elasticity of the customer. They said that they believe that they were very reluctant to take their pricing actions on their lineup that affected half of Magic the Gathering, and they put it on paper being too expensive. And he says growth isn't about increasing price, it's about growing the player base, which I thought was actually a win to hear them say that. Hopefully they continue that and say that they're not going to increase the prices again.
I don't think they're increasing prices for a little bit.
I would hope not, because they just said that growth isn't about increasing price, it's about growing player base. But to say,
oh my God,
to put this on, like if they would have said it costs a lot of money to get artwork, it costs a lot of money to design the game and to create the game so it can be used in arena and to make the game better, I would have been all in on it. But to put this on the price of paper is astronomically funny to me.
Baby, let's go.
Like I understand that paper is more expensive, but we know later on we'll talk about this in the podcast. There was a leaked document about $16 it costs Magic to produce a booster box.
In fairness,
Sure, but like the price that they are selling to, it's like we're talking about nickels and dimes, and to put that onto your B2B business relations that are accounting for 70% of your sales is a scummy thing to do.
That's not the way they view it. They're passing on their cost to us and expecting us to pass on our cost to the consumer.
Yeah, but this is my point. They are disconnected from the consumer because the consumer is saying they don't have the money to pay for that.
I mean,
they don't want to pay for it. They won't pay for it, and we're seeing that on the secondary market, and that's the point.
Okay, well, the two sets that have had this incredible price increase seem to be holding up pretty well.
Dominaria is not holding up well. It was just on Amazon's fire sale on Black Friday for $80 a box, which is nearly which is nearly 20%. Which is, no, it was like, up for
the collector box is holding up very well. Everything in Brothers of War is holding up well.
It just came out. It's a month old.
Brothers. Yeah.
Okay.
Brothers of War collector boxes are holding up well.
Like Jumpstart is pamping.
Okay.
I mean, like
Jumpstart's pamping, but it's not out yet.
Like Jumpstart is out. You can go to your local LGS and go buy it. Thank you, Josh, for the shout out. Yeah. I'm glad you're supporting your local game store. I hope you listen to this, Min-Max. So like, great sponsor you got there.
Hey, one of them's premium, and it's not you.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I still come from my store.
Follow up with your non-premium take here.
Premium's kind of worthless.
Premium's amazing.
What does premium get you?
I don't know. I just
increased allocation. It gets you 3 of those free crappy boxes.
That's a huge problem. If you're going to do all the work to be WPN premium, you should get something special. It's a lot of work to become that. It creates a different environment. You should get something for it.
Yeah, keep defending the 1%er stores, Josh.
No, we're not doing. I'm not even saying George. They screw you, Louis. So like they.
Yeah, screw you, Louis.
I don't even know what I was saying anymore. Oh yeah. Like the products since the price increase seem to be doing pretty well, all things considered. They certainly are doing better than the products right before the price increase.
That's fair. That's fair. They're also though much better products.
That has been my point. Yeah. If you want the boxes to do well, don't make crappy sets.
But when you do twice as many sets a year plus the secret layers, you don't have the infrastructure behind you to do that and to create good sets and to create a good product and to give people the opportunity to enjoy it and to experience it.
And even when it's a good product, and look at this. Attached to it.
And look at this. Louis has finally stumbled, I'm sure by accident, on the correct point. The problem they're going to have is they have to hire up if they're going to do 20 million products a year. Because if you're going to do 20 million products a year, they have to be good. If you're going to doing 20 million products a year and 10 million being good is really bad for the game. If you're going to do 6 sets and 3 or 4 mini sets a year, which is not crazy to me, by the way. Like, you have to hire up so those sets are good. I mean, like, I when I was, your age, Louis, Magic
25 did 4 years ago.
Yeah, Magic did 4 sets a year. Now they're doing 6 sets a year. And I think that would be okay. It's these mini sets in between. I think going to 6 to 8 sets a year total would be good for the game as long as they're hiring up to make sure that they're all good sets.
So, and this is something that just comes to mind. I don't work in the same realm that you guys work in, but in what I do for a living, I couldn't imagine having all these things, these individual pieces, these sets, and I'm going to hire tons more people to try to eliminate or try to give them more time to make the quality better. But all these pieces have to interact with each other. Each one of these sets, they live in the same world. They have to interact. There's I don't know, interconnectivity that must exist between these sets. Hiring more people to do this, I don't know if that helps. I think
agree
you
with
still
you.
Have these broken interactions, and you still
every set should be a universes beyond, and they have no interaction with anything else. I agree with you, Josh.
I legitimately agree with you. I think the point that you're making is that Magic the Gathering has a cap.
Yeah.
And that when you are under a company like Hasbro, they don't expect you to have a cap. They say produce double your growth, and this is the best argument I think I've heard made towards like the AltaFox article, where they're saying Wizards should break off and be their own company that can produce a product for the customers that the customers actually want, so that they can produce a successful product long term, not milk the cow for as much money as you can get, so you can afford your cocktail parties.
But they haven't.
Oh my
before
God.
you get down your Cockstail hole.
Oh my God.
There's an outlet here that they have an outlet to kind of flex this muscle of continuous change and kind of rapid fire. And when they introduced alchemy, it was not very popular. The community wasn't like, yes, constantly rebalance, give us new changes, give us these new things over and over again. The community spoke pretty loudly, and it showed in the player numbers. Hey, we want to get used to the cards. We want to play with the cards as they exist. Do we all dislike banning? Sure, but we all have accepted them as a part of life, and we're almost more comfortable with that than re-releasing something. So this constant flow of change and new things has already been rejected in the online platform, and it seems like we're rejecting it in person now. And I postulate to you guys, it would probably make them more money in the long run and be safer if they printed less products. I know I say to you all the time, they should print fewer sets because it will be healthier for the growth of the game in the long term. And you both tell me, no, they'd sell less boxes. I think that's immediately true. But I think you would attract more people, you'd grow larger, and you'd hold on to more people for the long run.
I disagree on a lot of those fronts. I think you could convince me that they could hold on to people longer, but new sets bring people in. Like like the number one weekend in every store is pre-release weekend.
Yeah, but 6 new sets versus 9 new sets. I don't think that there's a great difference there, because a lot of those people that were free for the one set release that came into the fold would have just waited a month and been free for the next one. They would have come in anyway.
I think that your point is probably true. I think like long term there will be issues with Magic the Gathering as a result of this. If you milk it for as much as you can constantly for the next 10 years, people are going to just stop buying product. I mean, we've already seen it. Basically, they said, well, this product's just not for you. And there's going to be a huge like removal of people buying products as a result of that long term. I think though, like the point is that Hasbro wants to see growth today. Like that's what they want. That's all they care about. And if we can get out of that, if we can get out of that, then great. Like, somebody buys Hasbro and they're not like that. They maybe we're out of that.
Scoopy, you buying Hasbro?
Did you guys see my text today?
I only like half of that.
All 400 of them. No, I missed them.
No, that was the other day. You have been on a texting spree.
My prediction for 2023.
Oh, I saw it.
Is just like we saw in 2022, where Channel Fireball or Card Shop Live gets bought by Channel Fireball, and Channel Fireball gets bought by TCG Player, and TCG
Card Shop Live was created by Channel.
I'm just adding to the.
Sorry.
He's just lying.
And TCG Player gets bought by eBay. We're going to see Disney buy Hasbro and Apple buy Disney.
I'm in.
And then who buys Apple?
Nobody. Apple just owns the world.
Hometown TCG, baby.
So, all right. Are we done with Fireside Chat? We're ready to transition over to Josh having a baby and...
you still being super cranky? Yes.
All right. We're going to take a little drink break. All right. Let's talk about recent Magic product. Our Jumpstart. It's completely pumping. That's pretty good.
Shocking.
Jumpstart is going off the rails.
What's it at? It was up to like 115 earlier this week.
I thought it was 118 earlier. Maybe 122.
Louis always runs down with Magic. This collection.
No, I could be wrong. I don't follow them. I'm not the market guy.
I was up to 120. Up to 120.
Oh, I said 122.
Yeah.
I was closer. Send me a box.
I'm surprised. Everybody's gone.
I was closer. Send me a box.
If anybody's looking for boxes, I still have some on my website, catdainsmarket.com. I think I'm at 120 though. I think I was at 120. So about the same price as TCG Player, but
I was the first.
This set is fantastic. My store is absolutely loving it. And it's not just the monetary side, but the gameplay side is super fun.
That's what I want to ask you. You guys are stores, you got events. Are people excited to play this? Every time a Jumpstart product comes out, I'm excited to play it. I don't necessarily care about the singles and the packs with this one, which is weird for me. Are your players excited to like shuffle up and get to work with these things?
Yeah. And Hot Tech, speaking of shuffling up, here's a pro tip. If you want to play Jumpstart, one of the things I always tell my store is like the idea of having to sleeve up the deck sometimes prevents you from buying the product and playing Jumpstart. If you just open up the decks and then take the expensive cards and make like take a land from the land station and put it in replacement of it, then
What's that called?
It's called a proxy. Then you can proxy your rate and you don't have to shuffle. You don't have to sleeve up the decks. And you can just play with the magic cards.
Wait, you're telling me that's the barrier for entry for some of your players? They don't want to put the cards in sleeves?
No, they don't want to buy another like a $12 pack.
This might explain why. This might explain why you didn't understand the first part of this podcast, Louis. Now it makes more sense.
Like
to
if
me.
they don't want to buy like it's a $10 entry to play. So if you don't want to spend twice as much for like
who doesn't have draft sleeves?
Let me be honest.
Like people who are hanging out the shop, some people don't have draft sleeves. I'm sorry, guys. Chat, I'm sorry. The listener, I'm sorry. I was trying to help you and give you an opinion of a way to make something easier for you. And these two bozos can't like just let me do it and have to like argue.
We have a higher expectation of you, listeners. Leave up your cards. You're better.
Does your store know they can reuse the sleeves? They can take those cards out and put different cards in later. Do they know that?
They're throwing the cards out. Like I already have mountains.
If they want to just pick up two decks and get to play and not have to go through the 10-minute process of sleeving up a deck.
Oh my, 10 minutes.
Yes. Then they can do that. I'm sorry for kind of giving you
this section makes the first section make a lot more sense to me now. Continue, Louis. Now I understand where you're coming from. Continue.
That's a bad take, man. That's a bad.
No, it's a great. I think it's a great take, Louis. Don't listen to Josh.
Oh my god.
I think it was a great take. I understand what you're going through.
Just put the cards in sleeves, everyone. It takes 2 seconds.
No.
Double sleeve.
Too long.
Takes too long.
They're
double
one-time
sleeve
use.
their jumpstart decks.
Wow, this has devolved into whatever the heck this is. This is amazing. But like we played Pauper the other day.
Please don't disagree with Louis or he'll be mean to you. Continue, Louis.
No, I'm not. Go ahead. You guys have a conversation.
Thank you. About time. This sounds probably a banger.
So I was playing Pauper the other day. And, I don't know what else you were going to say after that. So I can't follow up.
Was it sleeved?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Did it take long?
A single card game where I don't sleeve the cards.
Look at Louis' face. He's so miserable. You know what? The anime cards popping off has caught me off guard. Anime is big.
Anime is huge. It's not something. It's another thing that I feel I'm out of the loop on. But 100%. I see 100%. So many posts about this. The community is on fire about these. I wonder if the singles one day are going to become something people chase. Like, do you want a full collection of the anime cards?
It's only commons and uncommons, right?
I don't know if that's true.
Tree of Perdition.
Huh?
Tree of Perdition is a mythic. That's one of the anime cards.
That's the only one?
Or
is there more than that?
I don't think there's any more mythics. People really like them, and they already are chasing them, Josh. Like,
that's cool.
They're like $7-8 cards. Some of them.
All right.
Listen, that's cool.
They did a good job of picking the cards to make anime artwork of cards that you want like a play set of, or like there's like, you know, they're commons or uncommons from various formats that you play sets of some of the cards. So that's been pretty cool. My store like randomly, like we played Pauper, and at the end of the Pauper tournament, everyone was like, hey, we can hop in and play some Jumpstart tonight too. And like they hop in and played it. Like they just love it. Like they didn't have time to sleep up their decks.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to break them.
Pauper cards. Jumpstart cards. Too much work. I'll play with a land instead of the real cards.
Continue. Again, I'm sorry for giving some advice to make it easier to play, everyone.
It doesn't make it easier to play.
Yes, it does. It goes from having a 5 to 10 minute delay of being able to play to being able to just like grab 2 decks, 4 land cards,
put in a proxy and start playing.
Okay.
All right. I want to warn everybody. Distro seems out of this. If not, they're very close to being out of this. I expect you're going to see this price continue to go north until they get the restock. Listen to me very closely. I'm the one that predicted this set would do great and the price would go higher. Other people disagreed on this podcast. I won't name names, but he fudged everything up.
I don't think that's true.
I'm talking. And it hurts, doesn't it? And Do not, when this price goes up to stupid numbers, which it might. I'm not sure it will or won't. I don't know when the restock's coming. Do not go stupid. There will almost certainly be a major reprint of this. Remember that it took many, many months for the restock of the first Jumpstart. It might take a little while to get the restock of this Jumpstart. We don't know. But there will almost certainly be a restock of this. I would not overpay for this. I think 120 is fine. I think I would not pay much more than that though.
I think 120 is only fine if you're going to open it and use it now.
Oh yeah, if you're investing, I wouldn't be buying a set right now.
I would, if you were looking to invest in Jumpstart,
I wouldn't do it right now.
You should start with Jumpstart. Now. Jumpstart
100%.
right now probably will never see another reprint. And so,
well, in fairness, we might never need a reprint.
Yeah,
that's the set that was overprinted. There you go, Louis. There's your example you should have used.
Don't. According to you, nothing's overprinted.
Not what I said, but that set was overprinted at the end. Good Lord,
I disagree.
They have 20 trillion boxes.
Yeah, but that's a set that's supposed to be you can walk in and grab the product. I think
that will be true in the year 2040.
Where they overdid it with Jumpstart is by making these other Jumpstart products.
That was just stupid.
I think Jumpstart should be able to be on the shelf. So keeping it at distribution until Jumpstart 2022 comes out.
Well,
a really great take from somebody in my comment section was that Jumpstart, this product line, should just replace core sets. That this should be the core set replacement. That this is what that is. It's a core set that comes in. I thought that was
so Jumpstart's standard legal then?
I don't know. Does it matter? Listen, standard's completely dead.
This is why Purple Elf roasts me and you, Louis.
Well, but it matters for
Purple Elf roasts us.
It matters for digital formats, right?
Well,
those cards being available in standard would matter because then they'd have to be available in a digital format, and if they're available in a digital format, they have to be in the standard. If it becomes the core set,
this is a much deeper problem. The question here is if you are not going to have standard in paper, which is I kind of feel the way that the world is going. If you're going to not have standard in paper, do you even need a core set on Arena, or do you just give everybody the core set cards when they hop into Arena? And those are the entry level cards that you learn to play Arena with and that you get for free and that kind of thing. We can get into that. If they want to make that change, that would be a change that they're making. But
I think the worst thing WotC did this year by a mile was those stupid Jumpstart sets.
Oh, yeah.
By a mile.
Yeah.
That was
we've talked about that a million times.
That was awful. And I am very happy that the market has realized that this is a good product. I was a little anxious that the market might be oh, another Jumpstart. The market realizes this is the real Jumpstart and the others are cheap knockoffs.
The number of boxes at the 120 is ridiculous. I bet you by tomorrow morning we are at 125 to 130. There are 15 boxes at 120. No, there's 8 boxes at 120.
Does that mean the whole? Go
ahead.
I was going to say, does that mean the community is more plugged in than we give them credit for? Because often we say the community is very disconnected. We can say they won't have a handle on this. In 3 weeks, they won't remember Magic 30. Maybe in 3 weeks, they will remember Magic 30. This stuff is going to piss them off, and they're a little more plugged in than we thought they were.
They're so pissed off they're buying Jumpstart at 120 on TCG.
No, you are completely missing that entire point. The community was pissed off at Magic 30th. They said, don't buy Magic 30th. Nobody was saying that they weren't going to be buying other Magic products or the main sets. So
the protest worked and it's over now.
I think the protest worked for Magic 30th.
And it's over now.
What's over now?
They won the protest. They've won. Plant the victory flag, and it's done.
No, you're not going to turn this shade of beet red if I never say Magic 30th again. So no, it's definitely not over.
I don't think that we won yet because Wizards just came out and said nothing's wrong. We did everything fine. Magic 30th was great. We listened to the community response.
Are we on a team?
I don't.
Louis is. It's the Fudmaster Flex.
I'd be on Louis' team. Louis, I'd be on your team.
I do not want to be on your team.
I was always picked last in dodgeball, and that always hurt my feelings.
That follows.
I'd pick you first.
Too fat.
You know what?
Too full of cookie dough.
I was great at the throwing of the dodgeballs, not super good at the avoiding them.
I know this will surprise you based on my shape. I was good at neither.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Hit the blob guy.
Listen, I'm 6'8". There's way too much of me to hit. That in wrestling, there's too much to grab onto.
There's
We've,
a rumor that a small reprint might be coming in soon for Jumpstart. I don't know if that's true. That's just kind of been bubbling around distribution.
I would be surprised if that's not true.
Jumpstart, the original Jumpstart.
No, this one.
Okay, I was like,
no, the only reason
no.
I don't know is because it's made at that weird printer, right? It's not. It's the weird packs, so it's not made at their normal printer. I don't think.
Yeah, it is a separate. It's a separate printing process. I think
they did this
said
in
that with
Commander
the first
Legends.
Jumpstart, right?
Now, in fairness, you don't have to print as much Commander Legends because nobody bought it this year, so that might help. Those 4 boxes of Commander Legends they have to reprint. Those will be.
Hey,
good.
There are plenty of members of the community that loved Commander Legends, and I'm happy for both of them.
Who bought? Okay, good. Yeah, I was saying who bought? Who is a fan of this Commander Legends product? I want to shake their hand.
Those dragons are pretty good. The dragons are good.
How am I now the one dissing a set, and you're defending of all the things you could defend?
Louis,
you're defending D&D Commander Legends.
I've said since day one that the Commander Legends dragons are going to be hard to reprint expensive cards.
Of
course, because nobody bought the set.
Look how I believe in the product.
I want to touch Commander Legends sealed product with a 1,000-foot pole. In fact, I've got a whole.
All right, man. We were just on a team.
I've got a whole warehouse full of Commander Legends that I won't even move. It's just going to stay in the warehouse forever.
I cannot believe you didn't dump that.
Yeah, I have all.
That was your biggest fumble in Magic history.
And on top of that, I don't know, I have all of it. It's horrible. I sold
it helps going down every week.
Yeah, well, that's don't listen. If you're at my store, don't buy Commander Legends. I haven't changed the prices
or sleeves.
It just sits on the shelf.
Yeah, don't buy that or
Commander Legends or sleeves.
There's special one-time use sleeves at Louis' store.
What would I sell Commander Legends at? And I'd be like, I'm taking $100 loss right now. I just would be
taking way more than $100 loss.
So it's just up there, and people are like, hey, I want Commander Legends. I'm like, hey,
go to TCG Play.
I'm not matching it. It's a dumpster fire. All right. So Brothers War, George's main point here. 225 for collector boosters. 120 for set and 100 for draft boxes. 97.
So the big shock out of that for me is
set
draft
because it's not free.
Yeah. Yes, actually, that's exactly why. If I'm being honest with you.
You guys are so wrong about draft.
I held my take from this whole standard debacle earlier, but there's no standard. They're not printing these sets for anyone. It just irritates me.
I just listen, my store loves the draft packs. They do, because we do league. We don't do standard, we do league. So you buy 4 packs at the start of league. Every week you buy 1 pack, or every 3 losses you buy a pack, and they get draft pack.
Do that. You don't need draft packs for that. You could do set packs because it's not.
It's like a sealed format, so it works best with the draft packs. It's great.
Shout out to the league champion. A couple of people were saying they were going to win the whole league in the comment section, I think, last week. So
yeah,
shout out to the league champion.
They love it. Every day people are there playing their league games. They're always pinging me, when are you going to be at the shop?
That sounds fun. It really does. But I cannot imagine that moves that many draft packs.
That's the problem. Is you move 2 boxes that way, 3 boxes that way.
If there's 20 to 24 people in the league,
how many people are in the league right now?
20 to 24 or something like that.
And how many boxes do you move?
I don't know. I don't have that number off the top of my head.
That's way more than I thought you were going to say. That's also
that's 1 case.
For a 10-week period, that moves maybe 10 boxes total plus the 4 packs per person. So maybe 2 cases. That's pretty good. That's fine.
That was way more. I thought you were going to say 8, and I was like, that doesn't move that much product. That's way more. That's way more people in the league. Shout out that league. Sweet league.
The league's great.
He'll tell you the real number off camera. Josh, continue, Louis.
That is the real number. It is the big. I would say the most active part of my in-person community.
We do a commander league.
Yeah, we tried that. It didn't work as well.
Work? I would not play in any kind of organized commander format because you just so much is influenced on who wins that game. You have no control over. Ugh.
You get a pre-con commander and you're allowed to buy 3 packs a week.
That's Louis. That's the way to do it. Let it buy 3 packs a week.
We didn't like the commander league. Like they just didn't, because you get 4 people together to play. The games are an hour and a half long,
and you can't necessarily control if you win. You might just lose because everyone doesn't like you.
The league is fun because it's 1-on-1. It's, hey, anybody want to be there? There's 2 people that can hang out and play. So, all right. But I disagree a little bit that the Brothers War prices are like super good and a huge success. Set boxes seem good. I think I'm shocked that we didn't see collector boxes go to like the 250 to 260 range. That doesn't surprise you guys?
No, because they printed 1 million of them.
It's also like 225 seems like a good price to me.
Okay.
Like, you can make good margins at 225.
What did George predict the price was going to be? Of collector boxes when we first.
I don't know. I'm still waiting on.
I feel like we had didn't we have a bet that he said it was going to be?
That was.
I don't think there was. I don't think there was a bet there, my friend.
So Dominaria's price point that was a success was $300 a box, but you're changing that. You're changing that to Brothers Wars. The same thing. They're both standard sets.
Well, like it just came out though. It came out like what, 3 weeks ago, a month ago.
I guess it came out a month and a half ago. So what's your price point that's a success?
Like if it's if there's no restock, which is a big if there's no restock and the price is $225 in a month, that's a problem.
Now,
if there's a restock, of course the price will go down.
It could be telling, right? Because if there's a restock, maybe they haven't been reprinting these sets. They've been printing that much up front and then just releasing it.
And that would be bad news bears.
Right.
That would be bad
because this is a set. If there's more that comes, it is not from a reprint.
Most likely.
Not from a reprint.
Most likely that's true.
Your guys' faith in
They can't have 2 serialized cards.
I love how you're like, they'll commit material fraud and print these and double print cards in order to sell a $200 box.
You're saying they will only print number 1 through 250, and then if maybe later, if they need it, print 250 through 500. So
they're not stupid enough to not put the numbers 250 to 100, but they could go every other one and whatever.
But that means there's only 250 of each serialized card. And Louis? I know you don't believe that because you are bullish on these things.
Does the tinfoil exist outside the hat, or is the tinfoil inside the cap? I'm just trying to figure out where does the tinfoil go to protect the brainwaves the most?
Listen, I'm probably of the camp that this is waived and that we see a whole nother pretty big wave of these in a couple weeks.
That's my gut, but I will say distro seems to think they're getting more set boosters in from what I've heard.
My time to be a Hasbro shill. No way. There's no more waves.
If there's no more waves.
There's no more waves.
Why would that be the case?
This is a regression to the single release and print run of collector boxes back.
And how will Louis fud it up?
It's
Mark Rosewater would not do that
coming back around. I'm doing what you guys did earlier. I'm yelling over you. It's all coming back around. This is a regression to the good old days and serialized cards to the moon. I'm paying for my kids' college, baby.
I'm all in on that. That's great. If that's the case, I think that's a good solution. I think the way that it should be.
It's happening. Hasbro, I trust you. Chris, come on, come to my cocktail party. I believe in you.
Don't go, Chris.
Man. No, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of supply.
I just think I can find something negative in this. I just got to search deep enough.
There's a lot of supply. Anyway, I don't see this moving from the 225. Not for. I mean, there's 150 boxes at 225 just on the front page.
What's that way up there? Is that you, Brothers War collector boxes near the moon? Right next to Streets of New Capenna?
He gets it. Wait, go back. Do a U-turn. You had me until that last one.
Sales today are 10 boxes. Sales yesterday are 5 boxes.
So in 20 days, they'll be out of those 150 boxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right, maybe I'm wrong, because if that happens, that's a problem. If they're out of those boxes in 20 days at that price, it's going up.
We'll see. All right, let's move on to what's the next one? What did I take off? I took off the Fireplace
Remastered.
Dominaria Remastered. We saw all the spoilers this week. We'll keep this pretty brief.
No. I want to keep it as brief as your text messages.
What does that mean?
George and I were on a call.
We were
discussing the state of Magic the Gathering. Have a very good discussion.
Wait, without me?
It was
We
that's why it was
both
so
called
enjoyable.
you, and you didn't pick up.
That's
I
actually
was
true.
watching the stream.
This was not today.
No,
No, I was watching the Magic stream that I was sending you pictures from.
I would much rather talk to Josh and be on the stream with you.
We
By a
could have all been
mile.
on the stream talking at the same
No.
time.
Called you.
No. And all of a sudden, both of our phones are blowing up.
Yeah.
And they keep blowing up.
Okay. Can we
Then
get
they
to-
keep blowing up. I will bet you he sent us 40 text messages.
I was sharing the details of the new set.
It might be close. It might be
It was
close. But
so and Josh and I thought you were dying. And
No.
or stroking. We weren't sure which.
That was just
We were
the
very
man.
worried for you. We thought Mark
That was that
Rosewater had
situation
finally
where
gotten to you and his
you were
aunt.
hitting the button, and we were just getting text after
Yeah,
text
like
after
last
text.
podcast. I was worried that Mark Rosewater's aunt had finally gotten to you, I'll be
Okay.
honest.
Let me ask you guys a question.
That's
What
really
are your
trying to keep us on
thoughts
track.
on Dominaria Remastered? This has been our worst podcast maybe ever. This has been horrible. What are your thoughts on Dominaria Remastered?
No, you know what? You do this, and you've been doing a great job introing the sections, but I want you to go first. Now, the reason I want you to go first is because you should be able to be brief. A lot of our viewers already watch your channel, and you've given a lot of thoughts on this. And I think
I
I'm not
haven't
gonna-
even
I don't
I haven't
spoil
even
it.
started touching the surface of my thoughts on this. I have some anger thoughts on this.
Shocking. Really?
I hate this
Really?
product.
I didn't see that coming. I never would have guessed that.
As a fan of Time Spiral Remastered, what have they done? They massacred my boy. Like this is all right. So I think that the spoilers look pretty good. Urza, Lord High Artificer, great reprint, card that's needed reprint, really big card that's going to sell a lot of boxes. Obviously, there's what's the counter spell that's in there?
Force of will.
Force of Will's in there.
Oh, 40 bills in this?
Huge card. Yep. Huge card. A lot of people are excited about. I think Sylvan Library, really great card.
Vampiric
That's in
Tutor?
here. Vampiric Tutor. Lots
This will
of
be fine. What's the problem?
I am all for those cards. And I'm excited for those cards. I have a lot of issues with this product, but we can just talk about the positives for now if you guys want.
I'm assuming that's the end of your
No,
statement.
I asked for your opinion.
Okay. I want it to be known that I think that the cards in the set are pretty good. I don't like that there's a large number of mythics that are below the already $2 threshold. Like there's going to be a decent number of bulk mythics in this. If you open this product, I would highly recommend that you don't just open up like one box or something like this. Like you have to open it up in a
I would
wider.
suggest you go to
It's
capjamesmarket.com and open as many boxes as possible.
100 boxes again, and it breaks him. You have never been the same since that Brothers War opening. Ever.
Like this, the mythic hit or miss mark is super spiky on this. All right, but I think the cards in the set are great. Let me give you two things. I'm going to leave it to you guys, and then I want to hear your thoughts. Two things that I really don't like. Well, there's three things I really don't like about this product. Number one, I hate the collector boosters. I think that I wish that this was just like Time Spiral. It was just one booster box where
baby.
you had chase foils. I personally think that the success of Time Spiral Remastered is highly connected to the foil multiplier and the rarity and the difficulty of getting the retro frame cards. If you look at the secondary market, I know Wizards doesn't and they don't believe that it exists. But if you look at the secondary market, the retro frame and retro frame foils are what are driving that product. And by putting these collector booster boxes in that have a foil retro or borderless mythic in every pack, so a 50% chance at getting a foil retro, hypothetically, I guess I'm quoting 50%, but maybe it's not in that slot. And then a one foil retro or borderless common, you have two slots to get that foil retro compared to in a Time Spiral Remastered, it was sometimes a box hit to get a foil retro. Like it was a chase thing that you wanted to get. The amount of foil retro cards in this product, in my opinion, makes these foil retros not collectible. And this is what I was saying, like they don't understand what a collector is. It's way too easy to get those things. That was my first take. Hold on. That was my first take.
I thought it was both. My bad.
Second major issue is the
Today.
second major issue in this product is the gatekeeping connected to those collector boxes of what you cannot get in the draft pack. You cannot get a foil you cannot get the retro foil in the draft box. Yeah, you cannot get a retro foil in the draft box. You can only get a traditional foil of any rarity in the draft box. And I think that is a big mistake, and it is gatekeeping people who do want to open the product but can't afford a collector box or do not want to go that route. They have no chance at hitting what I think is the sales pitch of this product, and I think that's a miss. And then last thing that really frustrates me, and this is selfish 100% because I have a foiled out pauper deck. I can't believe that George hasn't focused in on this in my conversation, but they are reprinting 7th edition foil art, same artwork, same card, Wild Growth in a black bordered foil. And that it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Like, that foil is a $260 heavy played card on the 7th, that artwork in black bordered foil, and now we are reprinting it in mass, and basically the same thing. The only difference is going to be that little, the symbol. So this is a good test of the reserve list.
$160.
Yeah. So this is a good test. Like, I personally, talking to a collector, I'm all for you giving us a Wild Growth foil. I'm not saying don't give us a Wild Growth foil, but change the artwork, respect that part of your community that collects these 7th edition foils, and that's been a part of the community, and that's the first time that a lot of these things were printed in foil, and instead do different artwork, do a different thing. Right. This is one of the things I don't like.
That's not on the reserve list, though, right?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Those are my thoughts. This is where you guys start talking.
Don't you dare, George. If they reprint this and the price of a 7th edition foil drops even a little bit, your whole reserved list, the alpha cards will never lose their value. It's oh my gosh. Oh, don't.
Let me be clear. I don't think it's going to affect the price of a 7th edition foil.
But if it does, we are going to blow George up.
But
you won't.
I still don't like it. I just think it's
reserve lists are stupid.
I think it's this is the type of thing that doesn't inspire collectible confidence in the game. These things.
So, speaking from the other side of the table, from just playing the set and just looking at the cards without trying to get bogged down in the value. And I will admit, I didn't look up many of these values because we've had several conversations about this, and I know kind of you have the values of this set covered. I think this set has a ton of really fun and throwbacky cards. What is it? The one I saw from the spoiler season the other day was what? I think it was Mind Slicer is in this set.
Yeah.
That is just a cool card to see get reprinted. There's Absorbs in here. I think we got Absorbs more recently, but Absorb is in this set. Birds of Paradise feels like the card that they just print with every set.
I'm hyped for that one. That's the card that has me the most hyped. I'll say it.
Birds of Why? This Birds
I don't know. I like it. I love that card.
Yeah,
it's very colorful.
That's why he bought his Magic 30th boxes.
You should buy the Magic 30th edition Birds of Paradise, and I'll buy the retro foil Birds of Paradise. That's a plan. They're the exact same art. Mine just you can use. It's great. But this set looks like a ton of fun. So from a play experience, I'm excited for limited play with this. I'm excited to draft any kind of sealed play. I think that's going to be fun. I really was hoping for the Time Spiral Remastered feel where we all gathered around one box. But
yes.
I do think that you can't. Time Spiral Remastered, the foils were maybe too hard to get. And let me finish before you fly off the handle, Louis. I think something can be
like, what? I'm with you.
I think foils and the retro frame foils can be collectible without being one. It was like 1 to 1.2 per box on average, right? Yeah. And then only the certain playable ones were truly collectible. The other ones had way more value than their subsequent retro frame cards. But I think you could have upped that number a bit, right? And seen great success with this product. I think leaning into the collector pack, and then if I look now, just taking these out of the draft box is a massive mistake. Like, it was cool to sit around this product, play limited, and also have collectible things to chase and open all at the same time, all around one product. Adding collectors here is bad.
To play devil's advocate, even though I disagree with it, if you pulled the retro frame Thoughtseize in your draft pack, you were picking that in value drafting, and maybe this creates a more authentic, less value
You were
drafty.
drafting that foil Tarmogoyf, weren't you?
Yeah,
The
maybe-
players out here know what I'm talking. You were
I know what you're
drafting that
talking about. I know what you're
$400 Tarmogoyf.
you're talking
You were
about.
getting rid of it. You were drafting that card. Oh, I would have roasted you on Twitter.
But like
What,
maybe
what a weird threat.
maybe
I'll
that
tweet about you.
That's what happened.
maybe that's the reason they did that.
That's
I still think I think like the win of Time Spiral was like it made you feel like old Magic again, and like that's the whole point of it,
well,
right?
the remastered set.
But
right?
even like the way the box opened made you feel like old Magic again. But I agree with your statement about the limited. Like Time Spiral Remastered Limited is my favorite, like in the last 2 or 3 years to draft, and I'm super excited to draft this.
Yeah, like listen, man, and the value drafting. Listen, rare drafting has been a thing since forever in TCGs, right? Like that's when you find out about yourself as a human being. When you open the foil retro frame and you're like, do I want to win this draft or do I want the Thoughtseize? And like
Always draft value. Always.
Listen, I would draft if I opened a foil opt. I have the original ops in foil, but if I drafted a retro frame foil opt, I'd be like, oh, snipe. Well, yeah, I lose. That's fine. I'll splash for my one of blue opt. Boom.
George, your thoughts?
So the full arts look great.
Full arts do look very, very good.
Full arts look great.
No, I was waiting for someone. I didn't want any full arts. I wanted all just normal looking cards. Retro frame, normal looking cards.
Okay, like
all right, Boomer, calm down. All right, Grandpa.
Totally,
all right,
it's a remaster.
I'm going to take you for your insure after the podcast.
That's fine.
But like all right, like relax, Boomer.
That's fine.
I think they're great. I didn't realize retro frames weren't in the draft box. That's kind of a miss. That's I don't know how big of a miss, but that is a miss. But like, wait, retro frame can be in there, not foil retro frame.
Not retro frame foil. Yeah, isn't it?
You get in the draft box.
It is 36. Dominee remastered. Sorry.
You get one rare mythic. I'm assuming it's supposed to say one rare or mythic in either regular, retro, or borderless treatment.
Right. One
traditional foil, so you can still get the retro, and you just can't get retro foil.
Yeah, I wish I had. But I tend to think that everything should be in the draft box in much harder to pull quantities that are in the collector box. Like that would be my preference.
Yeah.
So that looks good. I mean, like honestly, I'm very relieved. I was very worried. I will my fear for this, and I know we will vouch for this. Our cost on this is very, very high. Very high. Don't say it, Josh. I know you love sharing costs from distro, but try to restrain yourself. I worry that the market won't accept that price out the gate for a box.
They already aren't doing it.
I mean, we don't know that yet, but we also know how short printed it's going to be. If they print, 10,000 boxes or 5,000 boxes, they will. I mean, I'm anxious about. Will the market accept the prices we're going to have to charge? We're going to have to.
Market is already at pre-orders at $300, which after your fees and shipping, this is pre-order prices. After your fees and shipping, you're making about $20 less than $20 a box, which is less than 10%.
I mean, that's more than I thought you were going to say, to be honest.
My point is that this is pre-order prices.
Yeah, I understand that.
Usually pre-order prices are considerably higher than that. Also, shout out to Distribution Network and friend of Wizards of the Coast, MVP Sports and Games, which is already selling their boxes on TCG Player currently. So that should tell you what they are anticipating with this product.
Don't they do that for every product, though?
I don't usually see them this early on pre-orders. That tells me that their orders for the set is not where they want it to be. I'm very worried.
Let me be very clear here. I think that is true. That would have been a much better topic than Louis' FUD Master Flex in the beginning. We'll talk about it next week, but we are entering an era where stores will not be allocated soon. Like I have gotten 100% of everything I've asked for months now.
Yeah.
That has not happened in years.
I am terrified of this set.
You should be terrified. I know your pre-orders.
No, I called my both reps and I asked for them to reduce my boxes by like a ton. I'm terrified of this set. Terrified.
I think this is a fair one to be terrified of. Because, I mean, Times
Square
100% was kind of up in the air before it was a hit. I mean, people were hyped over it, but like this adds a wrinkle in there where it's like,
let me tell you what I'm terrified of. I am not terrified that this set is not good because this set looks very good. I still firmly believe that the consumer is rejecting a new pricing model. Like I think consumers look for collector boxes to be between $200 and $225. That is an acceptable price for a collector box.
I
think they would accept $250 on like a
I think they'd accept
like
$250 on this on a specialty product. Yeah,
but like, listen, I can't sell it at $250.
No, you can't. Like man, like I'm.
Like
it's not worth it. It's not worth it. $250. It's not worth your risk of your. It's not worth the store's capital to put all that money to put in the.
This will be a set that kills some stores.
Yes,
like all that right. Is like
we're on the same page on something.
That's fair.
Well, it's about time you come to this. It's about time you come to this light of sensibility and justice, Louis. Welcome, buddy.
Justice?
Yeah, I'll buy you a beer.
Your product, your Magic 30 product, was just price anchoring for this.
You're like
anyway.
Fighting for the empire, and you're like, "Welcome to justice."
No,
Louis.
He's fighting for the rebellion. The Emperor were the good guys in Star Wars. 100%.
Imagine A, thinking that and saying that into a microphone, and B,
100%.
the fact that there's going to be a Savannah Lions reprint when Ragavan's a thing.
Listen, talk to the poor families that lost their loved ones on Alderaan.
Commons
and ask them
any of this. We forgot the most important thing they announced on their Fireside chat.
What?
Oh, good. It's a throwback.
Screw you guys. Final Fantasy.
No.
I am in like Flynn.
That's great.
Take all my whatever product that is. I'm ready to be irresponsible.
All right. So George, major fan of Universes Beyond, Magic 30, and increased prices from
be very clear here. I'm only
and
a fan
LGS
of Universes Beyond, StarCraft, Final Fantasy. That might be it.
I'm hype about the Lord of the Rings set. I hate Lord of the Rings, but I'm hyped about the Lord of the Rings set.
That's gonna be Commander Legends, right? That's the rumor.
God, I hope no. Modern Horizons 3 is the rumor.
You're right. Are you right? You might be right.
I'm right.
Oh my gosh. What if that misses? What if Modern Horizons 3 misses because
I
think Baldur's Gate?
100% gonna miss.
Oh yeah, good. We're on the same, we're on the same page. Okay, good.
Listen, this is why Pioneer is the perfect format.
All right, good. I was very worried we were gonna have another drag down fight over this. If they do Lord of the Rings Modern Horizons, oh god.
So like they can't. Yeah.
Are you
Mark
having
Rosewater's on? Please talk to Mark and tell him not to do that to me.
Okay, let's we got 15 minutes to talk about non-magic stuff. So it's 100. It's a minute and 30 already into the podcast.
I didn't even get to mention they're reprinting Fire Ice. Oh, in Uncommon.
George, your Cryptic event. How'd it go?
Big success. Listen to me very closely. If you're an LGS and you're thinking of doing a Cryptic event, you need to do it. I have never had to work so little to make an event go so well in my life. Tanner was like, when's the event? We did the event. He's like, great. I'll put in this prize support. I'll come in. A judge will come in. A couple of people who can teach players will come in. It's like Ron Popeil. You set it and forget it. I did not know this. Well, I did my normal stuff for events. So the event went very well because both me and Tanner acted like we were the only ones that were working at it. And so like we both went all in on it. And it went very, very well. People loved it. 32 people, but we really had 35. But I kind of said like, hey, that's an extra round.
Get out of here.
Yeah, like can we put you on the side event? Really great. People loved it. Sold a ton of boxes. I've never sold more non-magic products at an event in my life. I had to limit products or else I was going to sell out of everything with the word cryptic in my store. Yeah. I sold out of binders, sold out of fanny packs. I would have sold out of boxes. But people are just looking for an online website to buy singles, Louis. I don't
There you go.
like that was like the biggest problem I had.
Well, now you can go buy your singles at cavdainsmarket.com. And
Are
The
cryptic singles
world's
available there now?
largest cryptic singles store.
Yes, you can. And I'm going to be really watching the prices over the next couple of weeks. I just kind of put them up there and threw on.
Can you do a spreadsheet for us?
I'm not going to be doing a spreadsheet, but the goal is the goal is to have everything set up, because I have seen the success of this game at all the stores who have started doing it and done events. And my store particularly, we burned through a lot of the boxes.
Unbelievable.
And
unbelievable.
I was like, oh crap, like I can't get boxes for another 4 weeks, whatever it is for wave 2. So I wanted to opened my boxes to have singles for my locals to be buying and getting the product. So rather than competing for boxes, they can build decks and stuff. So then I was just like, well, I gotta do it anyway. Let's just throw it on the website and do it. So
Tanner was on a episode of the Bone Zone that comes out right after this episode today. I'm sure Jordan will link it in the section below, where he discusses his thoughts on designing the game and events and all that stuff. I'm sure Louis will pin it to the top so that you can find the interview with Tanner.
I'll get right on that.
Jordan, just keep spamming it until he pins it.
I don't think it lets him. I think it doesn't let him post a link.
What?
Yeah.
I
don't know. Well,
I love the fact that you're on the spot right now. This is great.
I was blown away by the reception of the game.
Yeah.
I have never seen a game be embraced by people so
what
quickly.
Did people like about it? I mean, tell a person who's a Magic player, like your store, but it didn't go to your store. What was the thing that people liked about the game, and the reason they played it?
The mechanics were similar enough for you to understand it, but the details were better enough to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
So if you play Magic, I can explain to you in 5 minutes how to play this game.
Yeah.
But the game is, in my opinion, meaningfully better because it fixes some of the kind of flaws that happen in a 30-year game, right? If Magic came out today, it wouldn't be widely accepted. It's only because it has 30 years of history and lore and love behind it that it's still seen. It's still the number one game. And that, listen, that matters, right? Like being first really matters. Creating a whole new industry really matters. But like Cryptic solves a lot of the problems where each card can be used for more than one thing.
Yeah.
So the decisions are a lot more difficult, and you have to think about what you want to do a lot harder. You also don't have the problem where, like, you can mulligan and you can just take cards out of the top and put them on the bottom, and you just get that same number of cards. You don't have to take a whole new deck with -1. So like, it improves Magic. It improves Magic. It's a great game. People love the 11-year row. Yeah, it's a great game. People loved it. People who played another TCG that I used to carry at my store, they loved it the most, and they said we want to have 2 events a week at the store.
That's cool.
And that's what I wanted to hear, right? People want more events, and so like we'll do more events.
People a lot of games have fixed the mana resource issue for Magic the Gathering. The idea that you don't have a dead card in your hand. We've seen that in pretty much every new TCG that's come out. Other than a couple of them that have come out, though. Like, that's fixed in the game. I personally, what I enjoy about it is that the core basis of Cryptic, the way that the game is played, solves the aggro versus control matchup in a really cool way, where instead of your life total, you're attacking those riddle cards. It balances out your cards in hand, and you get to make decisions as a player to either accept to be able to draw a card, or, get a card from your row. You're essentially selling your life. You have 7 life, basically. You're selling your life for an extra card in hand, which really affects the game because you can play it instantly. And there's been many games where I've played where I've got this, I'm going to win. And I attack with 4 or 5 creatures, and they get the card and they actually are able to play it. And then there's another blocker on the board for them that actually wins them the game in the long term. So that dynamic of, you're not just attacking life, you're attacking something that gives people a actual resource in their hand, is super, super balancing in the control aggro matchup kind of demographic of that.
Listen, I think it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And the year 11 cards, I think, add a lot of interesting decisions to the gameplay.
Yeah.
Because you have to really think about when you want to go after them. Like the final championship game, like there was like this huge moment with your 11 cards, and it changed the game entirely.
Yeah.
Like I was really impressed with the game. People seem to love it, and that makes me happy.
Josh?
I think it's interesting to see a game take their spin on this. Louis, after having talked with you pretty in depth about the mechanics of the game, the gameplay, and kind of how you're
Louis wants to talk about two things: Cryptic and Magic 30th. That's it.
I was about to say we had quite the cryptic conversation. It is interesting to see. I mean, you were very, very interested and very high on the change or the way the aggro V control matchup was approached. And I had some thoughts on that, but it's cool to see a group of players maybe approaching these things from different angles, right? And Cryptic
is all aggro.
Oh, and Cryptic, they're approaching the various.
My sword loves aggro everything.
Dude, hey, new games, aggro's a thing. So just turn them sideways, get in there.
Cryptic, in a different world, I would have started a YouTube channel on Cryptic. If I had not had a YouTube channel, in a different world, if I picked up Cryptic and played it, that would have gotten me to start a YouTube channel. That's a big that's
I will say deal. This is no BS to those listeners. I know Louie's been mean to me tonight, and I apologize for his behavior. But like, I have never seen him more excited about a card game in my life.
They just do everything. Like, those of you who are going to make a Cryptic YouTube channel, do a box opening and open up the box, and the first lore card that's in the box, which every pack has a lore card, read the lore, and then talk about the character for the 10-minute box opening. Like, they literally built their game in their box and everything in a perfect way for content. Like, it's just a cool, like, they thought through a lot
Tanner
of things.
Comes from Whatnot Land.
Yeah.
And like, that's amazing, right? Like, because like my question I asked him on the Bone Zone was like, you come from Whatnot Land, so like I expected you to understand collectability, and you did.
Yeah.
But like, what made you focus on gameplay? Because you'll never talk to Tanner and him not mention players, gameplay, et cetera, et cetera.
Because he plays the game. I was talking to him on the phone.
Yeah.
He was like, I was like, what are you doing this week? He's like, well, tomorrow I got a flight, and I'm meeting somebody early at the airport who has a flight at this, like a similar flight, and we're playing Cryptic in the airport. It's like the guy just like he plays his own game. He loves it. Like, I don't know.
It's cool. Good to see.
Yeah, it is. It's probably, I mean, I can very easily think Cryptic will be a mainstay on the podcast for something that we revisit every week, because there's just so much to talk about. And both George and I's stores are just like my store just
is going nuts. Like, yeah. I mean this. If I did not limit stuff, I would have nothing left with the words Cryptic in my store. Yeah. I had to tell people, you've had enough. I can't sell you any more boxes. May the zoo be with you. I've
been buying boxes on eBay to make sure I have something in the store until Wave 2.
I've been buying stuff on the Discord. Yeah. Like, it's like the store's ravenous.
This will be interesting. This will be an interesting case study for me, because I've been at the forefront before of building a local indie TCG community, an online indie TCG community, traveling with that community, going to events. It's going to be interesting. I've always gotten a little pushback. Like, I'll say, oh, the community's thriving. And someone's saying, well, in my area, I can't get anyone interested. I can't. This is the first time I'm going to be deeply involved with an indie TCG that has a lot of legs. It seems like it's got a lot of gas, it's got a lot of hype, and it's doing a very good job, where I won't have like a local community that I am forcefully and vengefully starting up. So I'm interested to see, how does Cryptic migrate into my area, into the Midwest and Chicago? How does that happen? How long does it happen? When I'm at the LGS playing Magic, when I'm up at MinMax playing Magic, like, when does someone approach me and say, hey, have you heard of Cryptic? Like, that
I'm interested. Have them carry it. This is easy. You can control your own destiny there.
I get your ad revenue for that, right? Like, it's my channel that you just mentioned MinMax on. Like, that's gonna.
Oh, they're just a game store. I mean, they're a premium game store, but they're just a game store.
Yeah, that's a cool thought though. Like, how long does it take?
Like, that's what I'm interested in. Because I wonder how many of these indie TCG communities, like, I know that they come along naturally, but it takes someone at the forefront really pushing that agenda, and I wonder how well that's going to travel. And I'm not saying it will or it won't. I'm not making a claim on that end. I'm saying I'm interested to see how that happens. I've never seen that before.
Cool. All right, let's pick up sorcery. This is just a real quick update. We I think are going to talk a little bit longer next week on sorcery. There's some phone calls happening this week. So go ahead, George.
I played sorcery. I want to say this. They are by a mile the classiest team in all of TCG world. I like because Mean Mugging, the goat of both sorcery and cryptic.
Yeah. Speaking of YouTube channels that are doing content on these games, Mean Mugging Games, I'm sure he'll leave a comment.
Great. Yeah. And he brought a print and play for sorcery for me, and we played it. Me and him did. And I won't tip my hand too much. Way better than I expected, though. And Simon reached out, and he was like, hey, like, I want to talk to you about this. Like, let's talk about your experience. We'll get Eric on the call. He goes, but let's not do it this week because I want this week to focus on your cryptic tournament.
Yeah.
That is classy.
Yep.
That is classy. Like, that is good guy sorcery.
Yep.
Like, that is a very kind thing for him to do to help out, I guess, a competitor, but a compatriot, I would say.
100% competitor. If you look at their Kickstarters, they were the closest of the Kickstarters in terms of, like, timing and stuff. So, like, definitely competitor.
When's Illustrals coming out, though?
All right, are we moving on to our next?
Yeah, we'll talk about sorcery big time next week. But I wanted to give Simon and Eric a shout out. They handled that very, very, very well. And big shout out to Mean Mugging Games Mike for doing the sorcery thing with me. That was great of him.
I want to get into the last section of the podcast, which I have named George Does Pollywog, but differently.
I didn't. Only one of us back Pollywog.
Kickstarter roundup. There's a couple things coming up. George wants to talk about Celestials. That's all that's the only thing he's messaged me about.
No. We got DMs. We got proof.
Yeah.
Hey, you're looting with Dominaria Remastered.
Let me be very, very clear here. I am not backing Celestials. I hope if you do, I hope it ships. I hope you love it. I am not backing it. I am backing nothing on Kickstarter right now.
I'm not going to tell you how you're spending your money, but you're asking me an awful lot if I'm backing it.
Yeah, that's the only thing George talks about on the phone with me. But I was working at my house. I was working on my house today. He's like, randomly, he's like, so are you backing Celestials? I was like,
so how much Celestials we going in for? How much we going in for, buddy?
Yeah.
I want to open a Celestial single shop.
Do it, baby. Do it.
Not really. I'm not really. I feel the need to disclose this. I'm not actually backing this. I'm not recommending it. I know nothing about the game, nothing about the team. May the zoo be with them, though.
We got Celestial singles. We got Grand Archive singles. We got Cryptic singles.
Are you doing Grand Archive singles?
No,
every single store is covered.
We know a Grand Archive single store that's popping up. We'll pump
that.
Well, I don't know if they're for sure doing it. We talked about it on the phone the other day. So listen, like, Celestial, here's what I know about Celestials. It seems like they're marketing to kids. Is that true? Like a younger demographic? I think
George is all over it.
I think that's actually a win. Let me just say that. Like, I think that market is something that hasn't been really fully tapped for Kickstarter games. And so, listen, I'm not going for it. I don't have kids of that age. But I heard a lot of people talking about.
What's the age that they need?
What age? Yeah, like what is that?
I'm just the only thing I know.
Targets.
The only thing I know about it is in the Discord server, people were talking about the artwork and stuff. Looks like it's made for like a 8 to 9 year old demographic, not like the high fantasy art like sorcery or cryptic or whatever.
Collecting things with your kids as like a family, that would be cool. That'd be neat.
Yeah. Not like I'm not there, and I will choose Pokemon for that. Like, I don't know. Like my kid loves Pokemon.
Charizard UPC collection to the moon.
I've got
great product. I heard this on this podcast. Great product.
Right up there by Street the New Competitive Collector. Charizard UPC.
Yeah. Great product. I heard this.
The other thing is,
I'm moving this box. This deserves to be front and center.
Legions, a game that we've talked about on the channel multiple times, also has a Kickstarter launching in January. That's pretty exciting. And listen, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. I think that games that have come out in the last 2 years, that kind of age point, Kickstarter is a perfect like advertisement for their games. And I think like one Kickstarter for these games is really important and can get their product in front of the eyes of a lot more people. It's free ad. It's like a free advertisement, basically. I think that's really cool. So their next set is coming out. So if you're interested in that, if you've picked up my Louie bundle on the website or something like that in the past, make sure you check that out if you're interested.
That's a shift for Legions, right? Is this the first Legions Kickstarter?
Yeah, and like I think I
so
remember
that's a
a
shift for
conversation where that wasn't originally part of their like their real drive and their goals. And even in his message in their Discord, it seemed like there was a lot of conversation that went into this. We talked about this with Genesis too, where they really had this conversation of, is this the right move for us, whatever. And I think like they probably landed in the idea that, hey, listen, like this is a great way to get your game in front of more people in more stores than you would be able to without it. So it's a win at the end of the day.
Dude, yeah, they're innovating, they're moving, they're trying stuff, they're looking to grow their communities and their games. Like I've got no problem with that. I think that's cool.
Yeah. So I think that launches in January. But other than that, no real Kickstarter news that I can think of. George?
Poor Louie. What are you going to do with all your extra money now? What now that you can't back every Kickstarter that comes
Oh,
out?
he lost it all in Brothers War, remember? He only made $25,000 in a weekend.
I'm out of money from Charizard UPCs, and that's
God. God. Like the fact that people are trying to sell them at $92 and they can't sell them.
I'm still all in on them.
Do you have a choice?
No, nobody's buying them. He did $100 Black Friday and didn't sell them. Like it's over.
I sold a decent amount.
How many did you sell?
Well, it was in store only. I think I sold like 10, 15, something like that. That's
2.5
pretty good.
cases. Yeah, 2.5 cases.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Like that's fine.
I have hundreds of
TCGs.
Like
I love how you criticize me and you have like more than I do.
I will bet you I have 200 more than you do.
That's probably true. I only have like 15 to 20 left. So
okay, I have I probably have
All right, talking about lots of things. $50 million MetaZoo $50 million MetaZoo Discord announcement.
Can you explain the announcement at least, Bozo?
Just to watch him turn beet red. Just to watch him turn red.
I am the hype man. You guys are the.
You don't even hype.
You're not the hype man.
I'm the hype man.
Oh, you're hype.
You're the FUD man.
$50,000 MetaZoo Discord announcement.
$50 million.
$50 million. So they came out and said that their revenue since their Kickstarter, which was in 2020 or 2021?
21, I believe.
Their revenue of since their Kickstarter has been $50 million, and that they have investors knocking on their door, but Mike is still with them.
All right. I'm gonna ignore that last part. I don't.
That's like what he said.
Yeah, I agree. I have no opinions if he should or shouldn't take money or not. That's up to Mike. So my takeaway from this announcement was that the boxes and this will be important for you, Josh. The boxes and the stuff around the boxes make up a way higher percentage of their revenue than I would have thought.
Oh, is that the angle I thought you were going to take?
You did the math.
I did the math. Like if they printed right around 400,000 total boxes, I think it's like 360 something. But like let's just round up because I'm bad at math and I only use my fingers and toes. That's about $24 million at I would guess distribution pricing. If I'm guessing low, $60. I don't know their distribution pricing, obviously, but like let's say it's $60. I might be a little bit higher than that, but at that price, it's $24 million in boxes alone.
Not including other products, or you're talking about
not including spell books, not including blisters, not including theme decks, not including release decks. So I said, let's call that 30 million, 32 million in stuff.
Is George specking on?
Mike, if you ban me for speculating on your numbers that I did the rough back napkin on, we can be beefing. So like that is like that's a much higher percentage.
Then you would have guessed. You thought the promo
products,
of
box products that I would have thought. I mean, I would have thought like the tops would have done a bigger number. I would have thought the poker decks were $2 million+ weren't they?
That's a lot.
I mean, like the playable box, the TCG box matters way more to MetaZoo for revenue than I would have thought it would have.
Yeah. It's great. Good job, Josh. Josh called it. Josh has been right about
Did he
MetaZoo
call
the whole
it?
time away. He's been pumping the boxes since day one.
Did he call it? I'm so mad. You're making me turn red.
Well, he
Yeah,
hasn't listened
man,
to
it's the
anything.
core product. It's the center of the whole thing. It's a trading card game. The trading card game box is the most important.
If I could ask
No
Mike one
way.
question that he has no obligation to tell us, but the number one piece of information I want to know is what was revenue in 21, what was revenue in 22.
Yeah.
Like, I think that'd be fascinating to know. And I think like it might be down because the print runs got smaller in 22, which is good. Like, let's be very clear here. 50 million is a very, very impressive number for a 2-year-old company. I think that's an astounding number,
especially
for a new card
in this
game.
industry. Especially in this industry.
Like, that's an astoundingly good number from where I sit. You know, my big takeaways were the boxes were way more important than I thought. There was some discussion in one of the discords about profitability, and I literally cannot imagine Mike not turning a serious profit with those kinds of numbers.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine his boxes cost more than $20 landed. Just because I think Wizards leaked it was $16 a while ago, so I'm guessing it's $20 now because it comes from China versus Carta Monday, but inflation and all that stuff. So let's say it's $25 even. You're at right around $10 million in cost landed for $24 million in revenue, and so that's $14 million going to artists, PR, marketing stuff.
Right.
That's just on the boxes. That means everything else is
a lot of
free
profit.
money. Yeah, I mean, like I suspect they're raking in cash, which is good. I know Louis hates companies that make profit, but like I love companies that make profit, and that's good. And I'm happy for you, Mike. And
yeah, you're right. Wizards raising the price of their boxes 11% while they're paying $17 a box. And pushing that price onto the LGS is a great thing, George. You're right. That is.
I know you hate companies turning profit, Louis. Just relax, all right? Viva, all right, Jay. Relax, all right? You can start the revolution on your own time, Jay. I was impressed by the $50 million number. I thought that was pretty good. I want to see if these other new card games will also release their numbers.
No, why do you care about that?
I care. This is fascinating to me. This was the best.
That will not happen.
What's more fascinating is the rebuttal that I'm sure I'm going to get from you, because I'm so glad that this just took the route that it did, because now more than ever I get to stand on my little soapbox and say we need to fix the box. The next box that comes out better be darn well perfect as far as tracking, weighable, getting the cards you're supposed to get in the box. Oh my God. You just told me it's the core product. It's making them all their money. We better lean into it and make it right. We better do it.
Right. So, like, I agree they can't be traceable. Like, I suspect Mike also agrees that the next box shouldn't be traceable. I don't think that's a hot take.
He should probably say that then. I don't think he's...
I don't think Mike needs to say, I hope the next box isn't mappable. I don't think
when one of yours is, I think you do.
I don't think he said, thank God it's mappable. Like, it was a mistake.
Okay, continuing.
Our bad. The box shouldn't be mappable.
He said that. He said he wished it wasn't. He said it wasn't traceable.
Josh's point is that the product is important, and so that should continue to be looked at and fixed. I think you probably agree with that same thing. They should continue to improve upon their core set box.
Does he? Or does it not matter? Because it sounds like it doesn't matter.
It definitely matters, but I don't think him saying, I hope my next box isn't mappable is a thing he needs to say. I also hope it's not full of flammable liquid. Yeah, thanks for clearing that up, Mike.
Listen, when a box is released that comes to you full of flammable liquid, then he might need to say that.
Do you think he intended?
So, like, when you get the MTZWBY box, you open it, it bursts into flames. Now you should be, hey, the next one I really hope.
Judging by my feelings right now, the listener probably is pretty done listening to this part of the conversation. You two have argued both sides. They can take their own pick and move on from there. What last thing before we finish? What do you want to see? What do you want to see with MetaZoo's 50 million in revenue, 20 million in profit, whatever? What do you want to see them do with that money in order to grow their brand?
Every nickel of this needs to go to the TV show. Every nickel needs to go right to the TV show,
I agree.
in my opinion. Or the arcade game. I'm fine with that too. Shout out to the arcade game.
I agree
But
with
like
this.
more realistically, the TV show.
When you have 50 million in revenue coming in, I don't think you can justify sparing literally any expense to make sure that that IP is perfect.
I agree, but like TV shows are expensive. Like I suspect their profit for this, they're gonna have to take out more money than this.
I mean, that makes sense to me. But when you have this, you can get investors and say, look, we have the revenue. This is
So
50, like there's no surprise in that. Like we have 50 million in
Like-
revenue, investors come on.
you can get investors or you can get loans. Like this depends on like, does Mike want to double down on the company and retain his ownership stake? Or does he want to give up some equity to not have to take out a loan? What does he think is in the best interest of the company? I don't know. That's up to Mike. I don't know. Whatever he thinks is probably right on this. Like, it's his personal risk tolerance.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I thought that was a good number. I really do want to see these other TCGs revenue numbers now. I'll be
Never going to
honest.
happen.
I know it won't. That doesn't mean I don't want it.
But it does, it does say like MetaZoo is the #1 auxiliary product TCG other than maybe Pokemon. I think they probably do more auxiliary products than even Magic though. Like they do a million auxiliary products.
Well,
and if their revenue is based so much connected to the boxes, this really shows you the revenue that matters for those games and around the price point. If you look at boxes and that kind of thing that they're making.
it looks like the revenue for the boxes to auxiliary is about 3-1. My back of the napkin math.
Yeah.
Which is like, listen, I would have thought it'd been a lot closer to 50-50.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. I'm glad he shared this. Like, I thought it was cool he shared this.
Cool. All right, let's end the podcast, everyone. Almost 2 hours in.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for watching. Those of you who made it through the bickering and the terrible takes, thank you so much for being here.
I'm sorry for Louie.
And we appreciate you. Remember to hit subscribe and follow us along.
You could not end on that this week. You could be like, this is on Josh's channel this week, you guys. This is a special one-off.
Josh does have a channel. People are asking, Hometown TCG. Make sure you go subscribe to Josh. George does not. I know you're really looking for more George's takes. George does not have a YouTube channel. You have to wait till next week on the podcast.
Or the Bone Zone coming out in 2 hours.
And the rest of you, may the zoo be with you and be kind to the people around you.
And you messed up. This is the perfect end of the podcast.
And I will also be with the people kind around me.